Given the fact that we're seeing this demographic change where you've got boomers leaving and you've got demands for skilled workers and that, what is the problem that you see? Like why is there that disconnect that we can't seem to transition from one generation to the next, the labor market?
Well, you're describing it as a structural problem, and I don't think I would. In a structural sense, we know the baby boomers are on the verge of retirement. Some of them may have already begun. In fact, for sure, some have already begun. And some are staying in longer because they lost some money during the stock market fluctuations and the crisis and so on. But structurally, that labor force is declining. And it means that in behind, young people are going to have, I think, lots of opportunities. But we have to layer on top of that this big cycle, a long cycle that happened from the crisis. So most business cycles would only be a couple of years long. You have a recession, so people cut back production, lay off your workers, so you become unemployed, 6-9 months go by and then you're called back. So that's typical, but when it's a long one and a slow one, and in our case, not only that, but the dollar went up at the same time, so we had a lot of things that happened at the same time, it actually destroyed some capacity in the economy. And that means those jobs are actually gone. And what we have to do now is wait for them to be recreated. It's not the same as calling somebody back. That process has been slow to get restarted, and I think it relates to confidence. That given what companies have been through, they're being cautious. I would be too. I think Mother Nature is at work, and we need to be patient, and unfortunately, patience means prolonged underemployment is the main thing that we see. But I'm confident that it's going to repair itself. We can see the process at work. And like I said, monetary policy is positioned to make it happen as fast as we can.
What happens when rates do rise, given the level of indebtedness that Canadians have?
Well, no doubt the Canadian economy would be more sensitive to a fluctuation in interest rates today than it was before the crisis. Precisely because we've put some more debt on our books, and we at this stage, we really don't know the answer to that question. We can make some educated guesses, but our models are based on, say, the past 30 years of average behavior, and all we'd know as well is going to be more sensitive than it was before. But that's all tied up with this thing I just described, the destination. Because, of course, if you're not going to go nearly as high, say in 5 years or whenever interest rates are going to be back to a steady state when everything is no shocks. Well, if you can imagine that, if their interest rates lower, well, that's okay because you've got more debt to service, right? And so I think that it all works out in the end. We've talked about these imbalances, how much indebtedness there is. That makes people vulnerable to a downturn in employment or a sudden rise in interest rates, neither of which, as I said before, where we'd be expecting. But of course, vulnerable in a sense that if interest rates were to go up 0.5 point, well, that would cost people some money. It would be more sensitive, but it's not much in the big picture. And so debt service is a reasonable share of people's incomes despite everything that has gone on. So in the end, I think what's the main thing is as the economy gathers strength and we get those jobs that we talked about, all those parameters are going to look better. The sustainability of those debts will look much better.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
No, it's my pleasure.
Wonderful.